that's why, to me, personally, this is the most important video I could make. I wish somebody had shared this information with me when I first got started. Good afternoon, farmers. This is Neil with Afternoon Farmer. Today we're going to be making our second video. This is about proper gardening attire and equipment. This isn't necessarily tools, but more protective equipment, PPE, personal protective equipment. And I'm making this as the very first content video, the first video we made and released. It was our introduction to our channel, who we are, just a little back history, and I suggest you watch that just to have some insight on what I'm trying to do here. The second video I'm making, as promised, is about gardening attire. And this video is extremely important. It's not going to be a very long one, but it is extremely important. It is the most important video I can release, because if I don't tell you how to protect yourself from the sun and protect yourself while gardening, and I just tell you go out and do some gardening, and you get fried to a crisp, and you're just miserable and unpleasant, and then your gardening experience is ruined and you hate it, I would hate to have that experience instilled, and I'd feel like that's on me. And so you'll notice it's over 80 degrees. It's 85, maybe 87 degrees right now. It's the heat of the day. The sun is high above. I'm perfectly cool. It looks like I wouldn't be. I'm wearing long pants and a long sleeve shirt, and I'm covered with gloves and a hat and everything. But this material is actually UPF 50. It's like SPF 50 sunscreen, but the SPF isn't really, it doesn't apply with clothing, but UPF does. I purchased it on Amazon. I purchased a few of them, and all of the ones that I bought, a few different brands, I don't have one to recommend over the other. I'll get a link and show you the ones that I've got, but they all do the job. They all protect me, and with them, I'm not exposed to the sun. I've gone out here and worked probably 8 hours in the sun, and I was not wearing gloves, but I was wearing everything else. And whenever I went in at night, my hands were red. They were lobster red, and they were very tender for the next couple days. They kind of peeled a little. Nothing else burned. It was just that. And so that tells me right away, this works. I was out all day, and I don't wear sunscreen unless I don't have this kind of clothing available. Even whenever I'm at the lake or the beach, I'll wear a long sleeve sun shirt. I don't care if people call me a dork. I am a dork. I'm a nerd. Okay. I won't be burned to a crisp. There's that. So, thank you. Also, another great benefit, you'll see there's various points. I don't know if you can see it on camera here, but various frayed points on the shirt, and each one of those is a thorn that would have grabbed me and drew blood had I not been covered in that area. And so the long sleeves, not only do they protect you from the sun, they'll protect you from brambles and scratches from sticks and irritation from sand and grass cuttings and any other thing that you could be getting on your skin. It helps just keep it out. The third benefit here, it's a moisture wicking material. It's like golf shirts. So as I'm sweating, it sits there and wicks and evaporates due to the latent heat of fusion, which is really the energy that goes into a substance that causes the act of evaporation. Anytime a substance changes forms from solid to liquid to gas to plasma, just the act of changing forms uses energy. And where does that energy go? Well, it comes from the object itself. That's why you feel cool as you sweat and it evaporates. Even in this high humidity south, I'll still evaporate rather quickly here in a quick breeze, and this material just constantly wicks the sweat away, and so I stay cool. It's like I have an air conditioner all the way over on my entire upper body here. And so it could be, I've worked out in 105. The heat index said it felt like 110, but it was 105 out here this past summer. And I was out here just the same, working, using a hoe, using rakes in the ground, busting, digging. And sure, I was drenched in sweat, but I didn't get heat stroke. I didn't, I'm fine. It's a little uncomfortable. Okay. The important thing is to know that you will be sweating a lot and to stay properly hydrated. And properly hydrated isn't only water, and it's not drinking ice cold water straight from the fridge. That's a good way to shock your system. If you're burning up and you go in there dry and you throw a whole lot of ice cold water down, you will shock your system. What I usually do, we have water that we keep in the fridge, and I'll mix that with water straight from the sink through a, like a pure water filter, and drink that. It is, it's cooler than out of the sink, but not as warm as straight out of the fridge. 50-50, meets halfway in the middle. Doesn't shock my system, but is rather refreshing, and I'll drink an entire quart of water like that. And if I'm still thirsty, I'll drink another 1/4 gallon of water, 4 cups. Half a gallon of water. That's a half gallon of water in one sitting. It's a ridiculous amount, but I'm a big guy, so I sweat a lot, and it takes a lot to refuel it. So these are all things just to be aware of, and I mention all of this because the equipment helps with the transpiration process, the sweating process. The next piece of equipment I'm going to talk about here is the gloves, and they are also extremely important for a variety of reasons. They protect you from the sun, as I mentioned when I didn't wear them that day. My hands burned rather bad. It didn't blister, but it peeled. And had I just been wearing gloves like this, there'd have been no burn. I'd been fine. The gloves, they protect you not only from the sun rays, which can be extremely destructive and age your skin very rapidly. They protect you from rock shards as you're digging through the dirt, getting dirt all up under your fingernails, which is annoying to get out and could host bacteria if you get any cuts, and it could cause infection. They protect your hands from things like blackberry vines and metal as you might be rummaging through. Who knows what else is out there. I've encountered random metal debris while digging, old nails and things that I wasn't aware were there. And the gloves protect you from that, needing to go and get a tetanus shot. You get used to them. They actually kind of improve your strength with tools. They can cause grip fatigue as you're using them for a long time, making a grip. When I run my brush mower and I have to hold the blade engagement, the gloves wear my hand out a lot faster than operating without them. And so sometimes I'll forego the gloves when operating that equipment, as long as I'm cognizant that I'm without a glove and careful not to run my hand through thorn bushes and other things and threads. They protect against crushing, slicing, stabbing to some degree. Get thick, nice leather cowhide gloves. It's armor. Next point, and you're going to find a common theme here, the hat. You notice it goes beyond my shoulders. My neck is completely in shadow here. I don't feel any hot spots on my head or neck, and I could stay out here for hours and not get sunburn. My face is in permanent shade, and it stays nice and cool. Furthermore, these hats can be soaked, and you just drench them in water, spray it down with a hose, dip it in a bucket, in a lake, whatever you happen to have handy, and put it on, and they add extra moisture and humidity to the air, and that keeps you even further cooled. And it's a rice paddy hat. The Vietnamese out in the rice paddies would wear these, protect themselves from the sun all day, and they would just dunk them in the water of the rice paddy and throw it on their head, and works great. You don't have to wear a rice paddy hat. Sometimes the clasp gets annoying, and when I move around or bend over a lot, the hat will fall off. Ooh, that sun is hot, but it can fall off. It can get annoying. The hat you use is up to you. If you don't have a hat though that protects your neck, you need to take extra consideration. Maybe wear sunscreen just on your neck. But using sunscreen every day has its own risks. The chemicals in it and the metals in it, some of them, the zinc and the aluminums that can block your skin. Some are linked to Alzheimer's, and so I avoid those whenever I can. This is the best hat. Before this, I had like a little fisherman's hat, just a simple cap, and then I took an Arctic Cool workout towel and just kind of stitched it to the hat around from ear to ear around the back. And so I wear it and it protects my neck, and I tuck that into the shirt, And now I've got an Arctic Cool towel on my neck at all times, keeping that cool, covering it from the sun. It also helps keep flying insects out of my ears. Sometimes, even if I'm not using high sound equipment, I'll put earplugs in my ears just to keep the little gnats out, because they're just constantly zzz, 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 and it's so annoying. So rather than spray myself down with DEET or anything that would be annoying, bad for the atmosphere, bad for my body, bad for the garden, instead I just block off the entrance and exit. They're fine. They annoy me sometimes. They'll fly into my eyes still, but you just kind of wave them out and they leave you alone after, for a little bit. That hat has built-in ear covering protection is my point with all of that. It was nice, but sometimes it kind of gets too much on my neck and I can't move around and it gets stuck. And so I really like this one, and it's part of my overall look now. When I go out, like I mentioned, to the lake wearing this, I'll also wear the hat at the lake, and people are always like, "Hey, I like your hat," and sometimes they're just mocking me and saying it ironically, but sometimes people are like, "Oh, I really do," and some people are like, "Oh, well, where'd you get that?" And those ones, they actually liked it. Not to oversell it or toot my own horn, but it's a great hat, very functional and cheap to replace should something go wrong. Next up, long pants. Notice all the way down I have socks that cover, you can't see a single inch of skin there. The long pants, key, they protect your ankles. I can't tell you how many times I've been walking and blackberries, random vines with thorns would wrap around my ankle, and whenever I would garden in shorts, I'd go inside and I would just have shredded ankles, red lines all over. Not only is that uncomfortable, it can lead to infection and other problems because you've got all these open wounds that take weeks to heal, and you're in sweat and dirt and grime, and so it's just better to avoid it all. And I'd much rather fray my pants than my skin. Even when the pants are frayed, they still provide a decent bit of protection. I've been wearing these ones, I've had this pair for probably almost a year and a half or 2 years of gardening now. They're a little thin in spots, but they still function. I highly recommend gardening in long pants. Thicker pants is even better if you can muster it, but it does get rather hot. A lot of times I'll wear like Dickies cargo pants if I'm going to be out doing a lot of stuff, kneeling down in the dirt, and I do kneel often. I have to get down and pull weeds and get with the Nigiri. It's actually my favorite tool. I'm going to have a video on my favorite hand tools, and Nigiri is at the top of the list, just a spoiler. But with the pants, the cargo, the extra thickness helps pad from sharp stones and rocks that you might be kneeling into, various other, anything out in the yard, and also better protection against the blackberry vines. Some thorns do penetrate these, and I do get some scratches through them here and there, but not nearly as bad as wearing shorts. Highly recommend long pants. And then, socks that go from shoe to pants. You don't want little ankle socks that are going to expose the bottoms of your ankles. Kind of defeats the whole purpose of the pants. If you can wear thicker, wool socks or something protective, that's even better. But in the summer, that gets really hot, and so usually I'm just wearing, a pair of thin black cotton socks. Then closed-toe, thick-soled shoes. You can't wear like the little $10 Walmart shoes while you're out gardening. You step on a twig and it goes through your shoe into your foot and stabs you, and now you've got bacteria all in your foot, and you've got a shoe surgically attached to your foot. It's just no fun. So you need good quality, thick-soled shoes that are closed-toed and protect you, and none that have weird cutout designs, because any cutout design on your shoes is sun exposure and sunspots, and if you're out here for hours in the sun, it's going to show and you're going to burn and your skin is going to be damaged. And so you'll notice the common thing amongst all of this is complete coverage, but also moisture wicking and air permeability. I'm extremely cool as I'm sitting out here in the full sun. I got a nice breeze going, and the sweat is evaporating constantly, and I feel quite comfortable. I wouldn't enjoy gardening if I didn't, and also I would be rapidly aged and my skin would be horribly damaged if I didn't take the precautions I do. I'm a very fair-skinned individual. I burn in 20 minutes or less of direct sun exposure in the heat of the day. That's why, to me, personally, this is the most important video I could make. I wish somebody had shared this information with me when I first got started, because I suffered many sunburns. I went through a lot of sunscreen, and finally one day I was like, there's got to be clothing that can protect me from the sun. This is ridiculous. And lo and behold, for the cost of, 1.5 tubes of sunscreen, I can get a shirt that offers me pretty much permanent sun protection. And so it's definitely the economical route, it's the environmental route, it's the personal due diligence for my own protection route. And so, like I said, I'll share those links here to show you. They're probably not even going to be affiliate links, so if you buy them, I won't get a cent. It's just that I recommend them that much, and they're the appropriate gear with the full exposure or full protection from sun. Notice these gloves are full cuff gloves. They go all the way over my shirt, and my shirt tucks into the glove. They're not matching gloves currently. One of mine on this one got messed up, and I couldn't find the other of this, but that works out. I've got various gloves all over. But the important bit is that it's a full cuff. The ones with the straps that snap in, check them, put them on, and sit out in the sun, and you'll notice you've got a little spot of sun exposure right there. And if you do that for 8 hours a day, or even just a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours in the heat of the day, 5 days a week, you've now got a sunspot burned right there. It's going to be near permanent. It might fade over years, but you can see the damage, and it's not slow. And so it's much better to take the steps now and protect yourself. And that's why I highly recommend a gardening setup like this. It doesn't have to be exactly this. They make UPF shirts in different colors. White is going to be the most protective from the sun. If you're in a very cold environment, you might want to make a black one with UPF 50. That will absorb more sun rays and stick to you. And so if you're out there in the cold, that'll help you stay warm. And so environmentally, I'm in the heat in the south. Even in the wintertime, I'll be cold for 5 minutes of working, and then once my core temperature builds up, I'm hot. And so to me, the white shirts are always the best. They don't stay white long. You get lots of gardening stains on them, but even with those, they still offer you the same sun protection. You can't go wrong. Thank you if you've followed along this long with my video. That's about as far as my suggestion for regular gardening PPE goes. Different tasks may have different things that go along with them. Chainsawing, for example, has chainsaw gloves with extra thick padding and Kevlar to stop if the chain pops. Chaps that you're supposed to wear, I don't have them, but chaps that you're supposed to wear that'll stop the chain and stop it from cutting through your leg. Various other PPE for the tasks that you're doing. But this is my regular, everyday gardening PPE that I highly recommend. So that's my everyday gardening PPE tutorial, my little bit of advice, what I've learned, and what I do on a daily basis, and you'll see repeatedly here. If you liked it, please like the video and subscribe. It would mean a lot. I'm just getting started, and so this kind of interaction is key for my new channel growth. And please, stay safe, protect yourself from the sun. Most importantly, the sun is the biggest threat out here in the garden. It's the biggest asset we have as a gardener, but it's also the biggest threat to you as a gardener. And so, take steps to protect yourself. The next video that I'm going to put out is going to be about composting. I don't have a whole lot of fresh compost material to show starting the pile, but I do have an active pile going, and it needs to be turned, and so I'll show you what goes into that. And I'll also show you why you can't rely on the rain to moisturize your compost piles, why you've got to take extra steps and manually, take care of your compost if you want to get good results out of it. And so we're going into compost next, because after protecting yourself from the sun, closing the loop, eliminating your waste, and saving your compost is the next most important thing as a gardener you can learn, and what I wish somebody would have drilled into me as well whenever I first started gardening. And so you notice a common theme here. I'm giving you the videos I wish I had when I got started. I feel like that is going to be the most helpful to new people who are just now getting started, because they'll be able to skip the countless hours that I've poured over, and all of the documents and the articles and the videos I've watched, and they'll be able to synthesize and get the quick information out of it. So farmers, until the next video, stay safe, enjoy your gardening, and good afternoon.